Sean?
Okay, well, thank you guys for all coming. Another Do What You Do Friday. For those of you who've never seen one of these before, the idea is that we find someone in our extended network or the community here, because there's so many interesting, cool people here in San Francisco, and we celebrate them in a way that we call Do What You Do. We want to hear their story, we want to hear how they do what they do, because they've done some special things along the way. And it's not only like tech or things that are specifically focused on what we do. It can be in any field, any industry. So in the future, as you have more people in mind, let me know, or let Jesse know. We'll make it happen. So this week, I'm excited because Matt Kelly is a guy I met in Australia when I was living there, and I ran into him at some event, and he was outrageous, and he told me about his outrageous life and his podcast called Living Outrageously, and how it had randomly, while he was sitting in Australia, him and his buddy created this podcast, and it picked up a very big following here in the U.S., became a #1 podcast on iTunes, and he wrote a book, and it became a Amazon bestseller list. And this guy just had a penchant for taking on something that he was completely foreign to, and then using his approach, his attitude, making something of it, making something out of nothing. So when we were hiring here, I put a call out to Matt. I said, "Would you be interested in moving to the States?" And he said yes. He came. Now we both wear funny colored pants. So, without further ado, Matt Kelly. 100.
Thanks so much. So, I didn't really know how to do this. Like Sean said, I've got the podcast. So a good friend of mine and I literally sit side by side, like via Skype. We chat for 40 minutes, no cuts, no edits, no nothing. So that's really easy. And when it's just you talking to your friend, it's no pressure at all. So you get into it. Having people in the room is very different. So questions, comments, feedback as we go, please just throw it out there, ask questions. I'll probably go fast. I like doing that. And I like hitting it with action and whatever. You'll see it as we go. But I want to start by telling you just a bit of a story as to when I learned that you could actually do what you do, or you could decide what you wanted to do in life. So who knows who that guy is? Does anyone know who that guy is? Hopefully someone does. No? Okay, that's Leo Laporte. He runs the Twit network, which is at twit.tv, This Week in Tech, a whole lot of other podcasts. I saw him on the How To channel in Australia. Nobody watches that. It is like no one watches that network. And he was doing a show called Call for Help. Right, that was on Tech TV here and whatever. We got syndicated. This was a number of years ago. I saw that and I was like, wow, this guy's cool. He's got a cool story. He's like communicating with people and they're doing live calls and tech support. I was really interested. Show got canned. He's like, what am I going to do now? I'm going to start my own podcast network. So I'm going to like build my own studio. I'm going to I've got this audience here, but TV doesn't want to do anything with it. I've got to create it, so I will. And he started just literally like audio podcasts, one a week, and then he like scaled out from there with a whole bunch of different shows. So that's what his channel looks like on iTunes, and you can see like he's got a whole lot of different ones. He's in some of them, he's not in some of them, but he's built this environment where they make a lot of money doing what they do by pumping out really cool content to that network, and I love it. Cue Brian Rushwood, which is kind of hard to see. He's a magician based in Texas, and for his whole life was like just interested in magic. So he would do big college events, he'd get up on stage and talk about all sorts of like crazy tricks, and he calls it bizarre magic for a reason. It is bizarre. But he's also a really smart guy. He's a comedian for all intensive purposes, and he's also into technology. So he partners up with Leo Laporte, creates his own show on the Twit network called NSFW, Not Safe for Work. Him and Justin Robert Young do this. They sit side by side next to each other, so you can sort of see some similarities here already. But they sit there and they just talk. They talk about cool, interesting, fun things. I thought that was amazing that people were willing to watch two randoms do that. They just talk about anything. Occasionally they'd bring guests in, but that was it. Dan Rollman, recordcenter.com. Don't worry, I'm going to bring it all back in very, very shortly. He runs his own world record company. He was like, Guinness World Records should not exist the way it does. This model is broken. It is impossible to break a world record. If you want to, you've got to have a lot of money, you've got to fly someone out. It's wrong. Like, the internet should solve this problem. So he's like, I'll just go and compete. I'll create my own world record network. Justin Robert Young and Brian Rushwood brought him on the NSFW show, and what he did was he live on the show was like having viewers call in and breaking world records. I'm like, this is cool. So literally anyone anywhere in the world can set or break a world record immediately. That's what his website looks like. That's the top featured record right now, the largest cardboard format. Like, crazy, right? Would Guinness have that? Maybe. I doubt it, right? They probably never give you a chance to try and set that. Like the second one down, then we're going to try and read that. That's like, even more crazy. But he built this environment where people all over the world could just go, I've got an idea, I'm going to upload a video, someone's going to review it, and if they think it's legitimate, I'm going to run at it and I'll have a world record. So, me and Dave, my good friend Dave, we were like, cool, we're going to set a world record. Why not, right? You can, it's easy. So we found one that 2 Canadians held. It was called the longest high five. They started a couple of miles apart with their hands in the air, the camera crew, ran together, right, side by side, high five in the middle. We were like, crap, that's an awesome world record. First of all, why haven't we heard of this? Second of all, we're going to beat it. So we did. We went out and we beat it. Now, like the shorts, right? So this is awesome, right? Like there's this total opportunity to do this, and it's cool, and people like it. That's since been beaten about 4 times since we held it. I think that's in 2010. I think we said that. Oh, there you go, 2011. It's been beaten as at about a week ago, and they run 20 kilometers. That is like 10 miles or something. It's a long distance. So these guys will never get this record back, but it's awesome. What we didn't realise was people love a competition, and for some reason the Americans love the fact that it was Australians and Canadians going up against each other. And this happened. So there's some awesome quotes in here, and I'm not going to read the whole article, but they talk about the fact that not since the 2010 Commonwealth Games have relations between Australia and Canada been so tense. Right? Like, I thought we were friends, but apparently people cared. And all of a sudden a whole lot of people were paying attention to us and listening, and tweets were coming, and Facebook. Like, we were getting added on Facebook by people we didn't know just because they read this weird article. It was the strangest thing ever. And what we learned was people love the underdogs. They love to see, they want to be part of a movement. They want to see you doing something different and follow that and participate and help you do that if you're doing something different. And it doesn't matter what that movement is. It really doesn't. You don't have to go up against someone. You just got to be doing something interesting, participating in something, taking part in something, challenging existing thinking. And we sort of clicked and we're like, there's something to that. Like, I hadn't learned about this, but people really wanted to get involved and do things. So, a couple of months later, we hear about this event, right? The Universal Record Database, now record7.com, having this live event in Austin, Texas. Now, take into consideration, I'm in Brisbane, Australia. About a couple of % of Australians have ever been to Austin, Texas. It would be tiny, right? Like, that's a big journey. So all of a sudden, we hear about this event, and Dan Rollin, the CEO, contacts us and goes, you guys need to come to Austin, Texas. We're like, when's that? Like, what do we need to do? How much is it going to cost? He's like, don't worry about any of that. You need to be here in 3 days. You're an Australian sitting in your living room, and you've been told, in 3 days you're going to be in Austin, Texas. We're like, what do you want us to do? We want you to come on stage, and we want you to crowd surf. Okay, like, you want to fly us over to the US to crowd surf. Is there like a reason for this? Yeah, you guys have to come over and break a world record on stage with us. So, okay, we'll do that. And that is literally exactly what we did. So, that's me on stage 3 days after hearing about this event, and we're crowd surfing. You can imagine the stir up in Australia. We're getting interviewed on the radio via the phone back in Australia an hour after this because they thought we were crazy and they were wondering why this happened and how it happened, and all this stuff sort of snowballed. And it was this amazing opportunity to get out and see the world and meet all of these people in their community who were doing something totally different. Half the people in this room probably think I'm just weird for going and doing that full stop. That's cool, it doesn't worry me, but there's always people who would sit there and go that's cool, I want to go and do that, I'm going to do something different. Now something interesting happened next, and I say interesting with a very specific tone, because it's a pretty interesting photo, to be honest. I had to have my chest ripped open and heart surgery 3 months after that. Nothing to do with the world record breaking, but they found out that I had a bit of an issue. And what I learned then was, I recovered from it fine. 3 months later, I was up and running around and attempting to break more world records. I worked out after that, it's like, what am I going to do in life? I'd studied at university, I had a good job, but it was like, I don't want to do that. I want to do something different. I'm so interested in trying to be unique or trying to carve a new pathway. And a good friend told me this. He said, ask a good question, get a good answer. If you say, I don't know what to do, or ask someone what you should do, that's not going to give you the answer that you want to receive, right? You don't know what they're going to say. They could say anything. But if you say, what can I do immediately to achieve X? For me, it was, okay, in 9 months' time, I want to be at South by Southwest, and I want to be speaking on stage. I want to find a way to be on the stage there. I love these people, I love these communities, I love what they're doing. Why aren't I there? What can I do today to kickstart that process? So Dave and Dave is a life coach, right? He's a really good friend of mine, high fiver. We love these three people for all sorts of different reasons, right? Tim Ferriss, Tony Robbins, Gary Vaynerchuk. And we love the messages and stories from these people. They're all big names in their own fields, but what we loved was that they each had massive followings. And we were like, okay, so you can be Gary Vaynerchuk, you can be Tony Robbins, you can be Tim Ferriss and have an audience, and you get that for a reason, right? So like, Tony Robbins has been doing massive events for literally years. Like something like 20 years he's been on stage. It's crazy. Gary Vaynerchuk started his own wine TV show, wine podcast, just because his dad had a wine restaurant and he was like, there's a better way. The internet is here. Let's do something with it. And Tim Ferriss, 4-hour workweek, 4-hour body, 4-hour chef. He's just a very popular guy in his own right. So we're like, cool. They've each got interesting messages. We love it. We read all their stuff. We watch all their videos. What next, right? Okay, what can we do with this? And the conversation that came up was, okay, how can we model them? Like, if it worked once, and you can look at it and say, like, that worked, I saw what you did, and it worked. Like, develop the recipe and do it again. Literally copy it. Copy it. There's no plagiarism here, because I'm looking at what you did, and I'm doing it. I'm always going to do it my own way, but there's the 90% of what they did that will always work. And if you just put your spin on it later on, it always comes together. So we developed our manifesto, and this is something that translated into a whole lot of different products that we worked on, or projects that we worked on. Impossible is an opinion was our biggest. Every single influencer that we were following was going against the grain and doing something that was totally crazy, that no one else would do, that didn't make sense. So we're like, cool, impossible is an opinion. If you think it's impossible, you should probably go and try and do it. The next thing was, it's not about you, it's about the value you create. And I didn't want to stand up here and be like, I did all this cool stuff, and it's basically what I'm doing anyway, but I didn't want to get up and do that. I wanted to say, what we create and what we help other people do is really what we're about. It's not about me going and saying, like, okay, so I put out this, and then someone watched it, and I got this as a result. It's about saying, I put out this, and then all these people together were able to build something. And to me, that's the most interesting thing. The next point of our manifesto was to have a go and execute something today. It's no good having a long-term plan if you don't have a short-term objective. Right? If I'm going to go and do something big in 2 weeks, I've got to take a step today. And it could be a tiny step, but I'm going to take a step because that suddenly makes the to-do list much shorter, and I know that I'm going to eventually get there. And then the last one is the samurai always defeats the sloth. We developed these two characters, and we said we had the sloth character, and the sloth was... Now, we don't have sloth in Australia, so we were like, okay, cool, we've seen this like animal thing, and it looked lazy and didn't do too much, and we're like, cool. So the sloth is that voice in the back of your head that says, you can't do that, don't try, you won't succeed. All these like negative thoughts around what hold people back. So we were like, okay, what do you want to be? You want to be a samurai, you want to have your sword, you want to destroy the sloth, and you want to keep moving down your path. So we developed these two characters. Now, little did we know that the two characters would blow up. So we were like, cool, we watched all these podcasts, we like all these people, let's create our own. So we started the Living Outrageously podcast. This is about 1.5 years ago we first launched this. And it was exactly modelling the people we'd seen do podcasting before. Like the two of us using Skype, recording software, and we would do it. We literally lived 3 doors apart, and we would still do it via Skype because that model worked, and people liked that, and it was so easy. The simplicity was brilliant. We literally had MacBooks, hit call. The call started recording, and that was it. For the first 3 or 4 episodes, we didn't have any titles or anything, no music. It was just that, and we would take a concept that was made famous by somebody else, and we would talk about it. And when you hear 2 idiot Australians yelling at each other about something interesting, right, for some reason it resonates with an American audience. It's a really dumb accent, right? And I think people are funny. So what we did was, we were like, okay, cool, let's just try this. Tonight, we're sitting in a coffee shop, we're like, tonight, we'll just do it. We'll pick a topic, we'll develop some sort of structure and framework for the conversation, we'll throw in a few quick tips at the end, and we'll launch it. And probably no one will see it, and I'll send a link to my family and my friends, and we'll put it on Facebook, and, if 3 or 4 people watch it, we'll see. If the reaction's great. If the reaction's bad, whatever. No harm done, we stop. It's no risk. So, we launched the first episode, and then we got this comment a day later. And this is Eric Svensson, a random kid in Phoenix, Arizona, and he wrote, I'm pretty bummed you guys don't have more views. You have some good tips, was searching for Tim Ferriss videos and found you, I'm satisfied. And Dave and I lost our shit when we read that. We were like, I remember calling Dave and being like, dude, go check YouTube right now. This is crazy. So first of all, someone found it. So the tags on YouTube worked. Second of all, someone cared enough to comment. We had like 3 views. No wonder he was bummed. He was like, there's nothing here. Like, why aren't there more videos? And we literally launched it a day before, so it was like, okay, no harm done, that's fine. But it was just really interesting to go, someone found it, and then and that person cared. So that was down here. A couple of days later, we launched episode, boom. Well, okay, what the hell is that? Like, we were expecting like this, and then maybe to dip down a bit. Like Christmas time was definitely a lull. Then you get your iPhone, so it might go up a little bit. I don't know. Like we just thought, what's the typical way this happens? Impossible is an opinion, right? So turns out that, and this is actually a really crude photo that I took just in snapping it because I saw it. Apple has featured this as a new and noteworthy podcast on the homepage of iTunes in Canada, Australia, and the US. I can't tell you exactly how many numbers that correlates to, but it's in a couple of days it was tens of thousands. And our heads exploded, our brains exploded. And we were like, what do we do now? What do you do when you've got all these people watching you? You don't know what you're doing or why you're doing it, you're just doing it because it's fun, and now you're getting emails from people. And they're saying things like, wow, the motivation techniques that you guys talked about in episode 2 was cool. Like, that was really interesting. I was able to do this. The crazy thing that happened about a week after that was a girl sent us an email and she said, I just got the tips that I needed to make the decision to move from the east coast of the US to the west coast. I've been needing to do it for a long time. I did it. Like, that's ridiculous. Don't take our advice. That's a life decision. Don't do that. She did it. And she came back to us later on. Like, people have quit their jobs. There's one girl who quit her job and became a scuba instructor. Like, what? Like, do it. If that's what you want to do, amazing. Please do. But it's crazy that this correlated to that. So, I don't actually have an actual clip of us talking, but if anyone wants to do that, I can play some after. It's different, it's loud, and it's probably louder than this actually, and with someone more hyper than me, it's crazy. Anyway, long story short, this ended up happening. That was us in the health category of iTunes at number 1. Sean said that already, so I don't really need to talk about that. But what we worked out through this whole process is that when you provide value to someone else, so when I can give something to you, you get it back 10 times. 10x, right? I don't know why, I don't know how, but people want to give back to those who serve them. And our plan has always been to add as much value as we can. Every email gets a response that day. Every single Facebook message gets a response that day. I got hit about 3 days into the, like one episode, went live, a couple of days later, I got an email from a lady in Tasmania, Australia. Tiny island, the little one, everyone forgets about it, right? They're a separate state. Now, she said to me, I like this, I like that, I like this, but Matt Kelly, you're sexist. And I was like, I'm definitely not sexist. If there's one thing I am, it's not that. Like, I lean so far away from that. She took one thing, like a throwaway comment about nothing, and totally like went, I hate you because of it. All the other hundreds of comments we got for that episode, everyone loved it, no one saw it. That one change was enough for me to go, okay, like, take note right now. What we're doing has an impact, and people are actually watching, so I have to care, I have to add value. And we've got to be very aware of that because it does matter. The other thing that we worked out was passive viewers. And passive viewers, I've also put their users and customers because it sort of all comes in the same context. When they're passive, they're not advocates. They don't care. They just don't care. So the most important thing for us was to create an environment where they cared enough to do something, to go and talk about things. And that's when you go extreme, we went excited. All the content has already been done. And we always put our own spin on it and changed it. But what we worked out was it was all in the delivery and it was all in who we were and how we helped people. The other thing that we worked out is that people are busy and they have stuff to do. And they might come home and watch TV, but how many people the next day tell someone every TV show they watched the night before? I don't know, if you work in a company that does that, you might, but in theory, very few people do. Very few people will go and actually talk to someone about every single show they watched. We didn't want to be that. We didn't want to be something that you casually watch, you casually subscribe to on YouTube because we existed. We wanted to create something that people actually cared about and were willing to go and tell their friends, particularly when we had content that was relevant to someone. So we still get hit right now, and this is 12 months ago, like, oh, I referred episode 3 to a friend of mine and now he's subscribed to you and whatever. That's amazing because the content in episode 3 was relevant and he cared about it. So what do you do when you've got this passive audience? Well, I shouldn't call it passive, when you've got this audience and you don't know what to do next. It's like, okay, we want to create a private lounge. We want to create a lounge for the samurai. And we want to create this environment where only the best, only the top samurai will ever get there. And there's a reason for that. We make it really hard to get in. We go, right, if you get into this lounge, if you can find your way in and get in, then you deserve to be there, and we know you're going to be a contributor to the discussion. So we have a contact form on our website. It says, join our private community. You've got to enter in your name, your contact details, your blah, 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 enter in all those details. you get an auto response back to you, which has verify your email address. Click here, okay? They click here. Then, one day later exactly, they get a follow-up email with a link to the Facebook page, the Facebook group. They can't see anything, they have a request to join. Logic is, if they come back a day later and still click, yes, I want to join, we're like, okay, they waited a day and they still wanted to. This wasn't a spontaneous decision. Like, it was actually, like, they went through a bit of effort to click one button. So like, cool, so if they hit that page and request, we'll then open their profile, and Dave and I have this running joke, if they look outrageous, we let them in. That is the process. So right now, like, that is outrageous, that person's picture. We're like, okay, I don't know who you are, but that's cool, like, alright, we'll let you in. What happened was, people started helping each other. So they started, like, not only were they just contributing to a general discussion, but they were pretending, or they were acting like they were friends, they knew each other, a bunch of them were talking on Skype. Like, what? Why? They were literally adding value all the way through. So, like, different Matt Kelly, by the way, he hit my website, wanted to buy my domain name, and then joined the Samurai Lounge and the Living RMC community because he found it. That was eye-opening for me as well. But they're all posting all this general stuff, and everyone's getting in there being supportive. Very small number of people in there, but they care enough, and every single day, a bunch of people go in there and post new stuff and contribute to the discussion. And that was all cool. And then we're like, cool, they're talking to each other, they're helping each other, there's a discussion going on. What next? So two of them take it onto themselves to create Super Samurai Success Secret Access. Every password they have to any website they subscribe to, they will put there. Like if they've paid for an online course, say what you will, they will post the username and password there because someone else might get value. Then the guy who created it literally contacted me and said to me, do you think it's like safe? Do you think anyone will like change my passwords and I won't be able to get back in? Like, listen, I can't say either way. I don't know them. They might, and that you might have a problem on your hands if they do. But if it's a risk that you're willing to take, I think it's a cool idea. So we did it. So him and Stephanie joined up. They did this. That page is blown out. Every single website that offers a course, offers a program, like many times you'll pay for it. They'll like write their own material and upload it about something that they've done. It's crazy fascinating. And then this one happened. And this one here was the first time this happened, and it's happened a few times since. But Sarah contacts Austin. He's a web developer. She's someone who's got good ideas and wants to build some things. She's paying him to work for her to build her project. Like, okay, so now we've created an environment where people are actually like transacting with each other. That was mind-blowing. Like, that is adding real value for them. Like, not for us. We don't have to do anything now. We can step back and the conversations just happen because of the culture that I believe we've created in that environment. And this like really resonates with me. It's not about you, it's about them. And if I continue to add value, if I continue to help, then they will continue to rise up to the occasion and contribute to that discussion. We also worked out that the community accomplishes far more when they work together as opposed to when I pump out material at them and they watch and they view it and whatever, right? I can't do what they can all do. They've all got crazy skill sets and we've all worked together since. Like we're building all of this. But I'm calling it crowd collaboration because you hear about like co-collaboration. There's a whole lot of these words where even books are being written this way. But what I loved about it is like it's one person has an idea, 2 people contribute to the idea, 5 people start helping them grow it, and it blows out from there. We haven't worked out any of the structure around this, we're just letting it happen because we can, because we love what they're all doing. The final point here was that I really want to touch on is that the biggest question for us on an ongoing basis, I don't do the podcast as much as I used to. I've sort of stepped back while I'm tackling this crazy opportunity that I'm doing over here in the States. But what I love about this is like, what can you do to bring people together, to make friendships occur, to like collectively create an environment where people want to participate with each other? Because I honestly believe that when you do that, it creates this crazy environment, this crazy circle of everyone helping each other and in turn all helping you. And I love it. The final project that I wanted to talk about is the book. And I wrote this book because I got pretty good at learning how to outsource using platforms like Elance, Freelancer, Odesk. I was like, okay, I've got ideas. In Australia, to find an engineer to help me build my ideas, like 1 in 1,000, 1 in 10,000, right? We just don't have the availability there that you guys have all experienced here. When you do go to a digital agency and you ask for a quote to help you out in a project or you want to do rev share, the price ends up being astronomical because you're competing with big companies. So I'm like, okay, I can't deal with that right now. Like, sideline that. What can I do to get this live immediately? All right, I'm going to learn about this. I'm going to learn in huge detail how these platforms work, what they mean, what the benefits are, what sucks about them, and what's broken about them. and I'm going to try and make it work. And I sort of did, to the point where the cover art of the book was outsourced. The editing of the book was outsourced. The research for the book was outsourced. The testimonial generation was outsourced, where I actually got someone to go and contact a whole lot of people that had come on Amazon and get testimonials to the back cover, right? I was like, cool, let's just see if I can do that, because already I'd outsourced a bunch of websites, I built an iPhone app, just literally outsourcing, and there were pros and cons, but I was like, let's just see if we can do this, and I did, and what I realised about writing a book is that it sucks, and that I would never recommend doing it. Writing a book is like for me, it was the most draining experience ever. I had to, knowing what I know about myself and the crazy ADD that I've got going on clearly, I was like, right, I need to have clear deadlines. Every single day I'm going to do an hour of writing, and in 30 days or 60 days I'm going to have that completed book, and here's what the chapters are all going to be called, here's the sections of each chapter. And I made it work like that. And I got there in the end, but it was a very painful process. And I'm still, to this day, I still wonder why I did it. What was the reason for doing it? And I knew that it added value, and I knew that it helped people, but I was like, okay, there'll be a very small number of people that will enjoy this, cool, it's worth doing. If 5 people download it, it was worth me, I blew an hour watching TV. Whatever, I can easily write this, and it felt like a very cathartic process of getting all my thoughts down, and I really enjoyed it. So it sucks and it's painful, but if you're talking about something that you like, it's easy. And you've got to find that balance. Probably everyone in this room thinks that at some point they've got a book in them. I know that I've thought that for years, and I know that at some point I'm going to do it again and put myself through the process again. When you do that, when you know that, understand who you're writing for and understand why you're writing it. For me, I wrote it for me, and I wrote it because I thought someone will get value at some point. I hadn't really built a market for it. Now, fortunately, we had quite a large audience of Living Outrageously, and a whole lot of them were like-minded in that respect, and that helped me boost it up initially, and that really worked. But the hardest thing is building an audience from nothing. And the last point here, the Amazon Kindle store, 1 million+ books with literally over 1,000 books being added every single day. That's a lot of noise, and you don't want to compete with that without having an existing audience that you can go and talk to. So there's any number of ways to engage an audience. I'll just skip up here because I like this point as well. Being an artist is great. I really thought I was an expert on this outsourcing process. I knew what I was doing. I was like, that's cool. But what I worked out is today, the artist is fine, but you've got to own the gallery. You've got to do the pitch, and you've got to make the transaction as well. Because unless you crack a crazy deal with a big publisher, which you may well, it's not happening frequently, but you might, I don't know. Unless you do that, you've got to own that whole conversion path, and that is hard work, especially if you're only focused on the topic, which is building this cool product for a very specific audience. And then also, obviously, understand the market and know where the true opportunity is. If you are genuinely interested in writing a book at some point, you've probably all heard of this, or if you haven't, it's author, publisher, entrepreneur, by Guy Kawasaki. That was released about 6 months after I launched my book, and I hate him for that, because that would have changed the way I wrote the book completely. So, solid resource. Also, lulu.com for all of that on-demand publishing, printing, all of that. I couldn't have had a printed book without them at all. There's no way. There's a couple of other services like them, but it's been amazing for me. So that's that. Final takeaways from me, and I've smashed this so quickly, that's good. If you're scared of it, you have to do it. You have to do it. I was talking to Sean about this last week. New in San Francisco, never been here before. Sean says, Matt, meet me at the marina. I'm staying just down the road here. I'm like, shit, okay. Marina, Google Maps, okay, there's the marina. I'm like, oh, taxi pulled up right in front of me. I'm like, okay, there's a taxi there. I know how to work a taxi. I can get in a taxi and I can go there. Okay, I could do that, or I could work out how the bus system works. And for some reason, that scared me, right? I didn't know how it worked. I didn't know what the stops were. I didn't know where I was going. I didn't know how to pay the guy. I had no idea how that process worked. So I'm a little bit nervous about this. Taxi, okay, I've got to do it. I have to do it. And it was the most random, crazy experience of my life. But it was worth it, and it was cool, and it was easier than I thought. So if it scares you, and if it intimidates you, and if you're unsure about it, it's probably a good indication that it's worth doing. A step in any direction is better than standing still. We've really tried to live and breathe this, especially with the podcast, where it was like, what can I do today to embrace the community, to create more content, to help them in any number of ways? Now we're creating specific videos that we call the Samurai Lounge Fireside Chat. And it's not the standard podcast, it's Dave and I doing exactly what the other guys do from the Twit Network, where it was us talking about anything. Because we chat about a whole lot of random news all the time. Sometimes there might be interesting stuff. There's people that apparently want to hear us talk. Let's just talk and see what happens. And so we started experimenting with this, and it was like any step in any direction is better than standing still. We could go to high production quality, we could wait until we've got the money to buy a really good camera and do it together and build a studio and do all that. We're like, or we could just do it now and test the idea right now, and if people like it, then we'll keep doing it and we'll grow on it. The next point, take a stance. So the most important thing here for us was, especially with the world record situation, this is probably a great example for this. All of my friends from high school, and that's basically what Facebook is, it's all of my friends from high school, and then a few from college, and then a few from work, and that's it, right? All my friends from high school see the podcast, and they're like, you are an idiot, like, why on earth did you do that? And then the next question is, how much money have you made from it? Like, why are you doing this? And that's a hard question to answer when you put 2 episodes up, and they've got 4 views each. And you're like, I don't know why I'm doing this. I'm doing it because it's fun, because it feels like I should do it, so we're just going to keep doing it. People thought we were crazy, and that was almost difficult to get by. When your family thinks you're crazy for doing it, you know it's on the edge, and you know, like for me, it was like, okay, I'm onto something. If my dad doesn't get this, awesome, like, because at some point he might, and even if he doesn't, it means that I'm doing something that's like new to him, and that's cool. The point I like about this was that the niche audience is who will care, and the niche audience is the one that you want, because they're the ones who are willing to live and breathe what you do. I'm not trying to get 1 million viewers every month. I'm happy with like literally 60,000 every month who actually participate in the conversation. And that's what's happening. And we're not even trying to grow it like that. We want to build the relationship with the existing ones, because the referrals matter more than the new viewers. And then the final point here was that you already know what you're good at. And everyone in this room knows what they're good at. They know what they do well, they know what they do poorly. If you know what you're good at, and you know that you're not sharing that, if you're not helping someone else learn it, if you're not giving that out in any way at all, then there's probably, there's action that you can take today. It doesn't have to be recording yourself yelling to a friend like an idiot, right? There's so many things that you can do, but I honestly believe that any success that I've had and will have is purely by sharing what I know. That's it. That's sort of why I'm standing here, because hopefully one person in the room goes, wow, that was interesting, thanks. And I'll be like, cool, I just shared some information, a lot of it was random and didn't make a lot of sense, but it resonated with someone, a point resonated, and that's why we're all here. I honestly believe if you don't do that, if you don't share this information, then you're not doing yourself justice, you're not doing the world justice, and there's so much value that we can all add to improve it, so let's do that. Peace out. I honestly believe that, if there's questions, it may well be easier to do them one-on-one, because there's a lot of random content there, and I suspect that if you want to dive into a specific niche, it's definitely easier to go one-on-one. Yeah.
So normally we give people a do what you do bracelet, but clearly he's already embracing the motto, so we can't do that. Sean?
No, I was going to say, we can do a question or two, and then the rest just go to wind down. Jesse will get the music flowing, and it'll be a seamless transition.
Right.
But does anyone have?
No, slowly.
Oh, sorry. Right.
I was wondering if you have your favorite podcast or like a couple of maybe you could look at it.
Yeah, there's a couple of ones that we've gotten good feedback for. I won't give you the ones we've gotten horrible feedback on. I'll have to hit you after with it. I'll give you the actual episode number. But there's a bunch of them that got rated particularly well, so they're the ones I'll give out.
My favorite one is there's one that they always start the introduction is the funniest bit of how they introduce each other.
We yell, right?
Yeah, they yell a lot in this podcast. But there's also one where you broke into someone's house or your own house or something like that.
Yeah.
It's the podcast must go on type of thing. You didn't have access to internet and you broke into someone's house and
I was moving and there was the door was open. That was cool. Yeah, I knew I had the Wi-Fi password, so it was find a way.
But you went into someone's house, Greg.
Oh, to an extent. I knew the owner, they just didn't know I was there.
Okay.
It's no biggie, right? Yeah.
The Samurai Lounge. So what's the story? What's the rest of the story?
So the whole concept of the Samurai Lounge was that all we wanted was to build an environment where people could talk, because you'd get comments on Facebook, on the official Facebook page, you get comments on YouTube, and we were like, cool, we want to create an environment where not only are they talking to us and we're occasionally providing an answer, but also they can talk to each other. That's it. That's it. Right now, it's got people in it. Right this second, I put up a post today with the link to the right page to this, and I said, if you can get here today, I'll pay for any accommodation needs that you have in San Francisco. And I'm like, like I know there's people all over the states. I know a couple like firsthand that are in San Francisco. And I'm like, if you're crazy enough to like make your way here, we'll do it. So that conversation is happening constantly. I don't know where it's going to go. I've got no idea. I'm going to let them drive it, really, and we'll keep adding things here and there. And we've also got, and one thing I didn't really talk about was like monetizing the podcast. And the Samurai Lounge is free, will always be free. Like it's their community, and we do stuff there. We make very little money off the podcast, but we have made money before. So we've got ad deals that we negotiated. So we've got an ad partner in the US who was feeding us sort of affiliate model. Now that's always tough because you've got a certain number of people watching, you've got a certain number of people that will actually take action on an ad and enter in your promo code or do something there. And then you've got an added layer to that where it's like, there's people who go and sign up for services just because like we told them to. Like the people are like, cool, like that company is supporting like Matt and Dave doing what they do, I'm gonna go sign up. And that happened a bunch of times and that was pretty crazy for us as well. So like it's still a blank slate and we're a year and a half down the track. I don't want to stop doing it, I've slowed down, just across the board, but it's one of those things where we'll just keep trying different things all the time. There's no plan. There's no, like right now, there's no roadmap because they're doing enough to keep us freaking excited about it. So, yeah.
All right, to the window.
Thanks for watching.